Episode 5.
Yes,
Welcome
sir.
back.
Yes, sir.
This one's a good one, but definitely also a somber one. But before we get into that, we're gonna start off with a wrist check. I'll kick it off. Today, I decided to go with my Speedy. So I have my Speedmaster Professional. This is a mid-90s Speedmaster, so it's vintage. Originally, I was looking for a birth year, but that has become increasingly difficult to find for me. I'm late 80s.
Premium attached.
Yeah. So I settled for a mid-90s. So I still got that tritium dial. This watch I've grown very fond of this watch. I put it on a new bracelet, but kept the same clasp. I have this actually on the, so there's a company called Forstner that has a long history with Omega Speedmasters. They did the JB Champion mesh bracelet that Dick Gordon wore when they were qualifying for NASA spaceflight. And I have that mesh bracelet, but I saw this one. This was a new release, the 1450 President bracelet in steel.
Looks good.
That I decided to go with. Super lightweight, incredibly comfortable. You guys know I'm a steel bracelet dude.
Yep. How many times you use a stopwatch today?
Twice.
I knew that was coming.
Yeah. I can't help it, man. This thing is just like it pulls me in, and definitely one of my favorite pieces. It's iconic. It's I would say it's almost my everyday driver. I have a couple of pieces and I switch it out as much as I can, but this one I wear the most.
Nice. Great choice.
What are you going with today, Ben?
So as a kickback to the first episode, I got my hands on the Baltic MR01.
Nice.
It's not mine. A friend of mine, Junie, actually listened to the first episode and was like, yo, I got a blue one. I know you hate blue dials, but here.
I think it's good.
See
though.
how it looks.
It's kind of
feels.
like a little more slate.
I like it. Yeah,
blue.
in some light, it looks more gray.
Mm-hmm.
The one thing I will say about it though is that at night you can't tell the time.
Sure, there's no looms.
Yeah, you cannot tell the time.
Yeah.
Aside from that, well, that and the strap, I swapped the strap out. I kind of fell in love with it pretty fast as soon as I put it on.
I'm not gonna lie, I did too. Especially when you flipped over. I saw the exhibition case.
Yeah, it's good.
That micro rotor is fire.
Not only is the micro rotor fire, but the movement's nice. For
Yeah,
again, a watch that's
really
$630. This movement is like pretty special.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'll say
super
it again.
special.
Baltic is definitely like one of my favorite brands right now. Like, I think they're doing really cool stuff.
Yeah, so this is a good one. I kind of fell in love with it instantly, and I'm not upset with it. I'm pretty happy. If a salmon dial comes in stock, though, y'all hit me up because I'm jumping on it.
Yeah.
Respect.
The sub-second is cool.
Yeah,
too.
sub-second. I
The
mean,
position is
well,
like,
I think we're all a sucker for that. So the fact that this
Definitely.
is like asymmetrical sub-seconds, takes over 7 and 8 o'clock is even better. Makes it
Yeah.
sweeter.
No, it's dope, man.
Yeah.
What
about
are you rocking
Rashawn?
with, Rashawn?
oh man, you know what? I think that I'm in sync with both of you guys.
Okay. Are we all doing sub dials today?
So we're doing
Uh-oh.
crazy sub dials and we're doing chronographs. So
Respect.
I went with the piece by Undone, which is a sub brand of Seiko.
Cool.
Japanese design. My favorite piece to rock, just like casually, dress
That's
up,
a
dress
bold
down.
statement. My favorite piece to rock.
It's a handsome piece, man.
It is.
Yeah,
I like the strap you got on it.
yeah. I mean, the racing strap just kind of like meshes so perfectly with the dial design, the two sub dials where you have your cool sub second and then your breakdown of the hour is just dope to me.
You know, I didn't actually realize until recently that Undone was owned by Seiko.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You
It
pointed
makes a lot
that
of
out.
sense.
That's how I knew.
The coolest thing too about the design, they decided to make an exhibition quartz.
I think
watch.
it's kind of dope that Seiko has their hands in so many different pots.
Yeah, yeah. They're definitely stewing.
Something for everybody.
Yeah,
for real.
sure.
I mean, seriously, it's like they get to have a lot of fun with that brand because I visited their website recently and it's like there's like this whole like customize your own watch like shop option that they have, which I think is really cool. And you get to like redesign some of the more popular pieces on their website.
Yeah, of course. I mean, it's also too, to get a Seiko watch at an affordable price point and it not be just a Seiko, it's got like some kind of,
Because what does that retail for?
this retails for about $300.
I mean, that's a steal.
$300 for like a custom watch is pretty cool.
Yeah, it's pretty tight.
Yeah, no brainer for me.
Respect.
Yeah, man.
And it's blue. You got a lot of blue.
Yeah, gotta love the blue. The Panda blue, it's dope.
Yeah, it's pretty tight, man. Moving along. So, keeping everything current, we got some sad news. Obviously, Virgil Abloh passed, and kind of wanted to take a moment, actually a segment, and dedicate it to him in his honor. I think, speaking for myself, this is someone who has had an impact on me. I think in terms of his perspective of art, fashion, and culture, and everything in between. But there was a really great article written in Hodinkee by Nick Marino that I thought was really, really poignant and kind of beautiful. And some of what he shared was, and I knew Virgil had like a love and appreciation for watches, but I thought how Nick captured this in the article was really, really nice. But he talked about how Virgil changed how we view and look at watches. Mm-hmm. And I think back to one of the episodes we did recently where we were talking about like bust downs and customizations. Yeah. And in reading the article, I felt a little enlightened in terms of how I look at or view the idea of customizing a watch. When I think about Virgil, for me, in terms of his whole career, I think about, there's a word that keeps popping up when we talk about like how we wear watches, particularly like dress watches, and it's juxtaposition. Mm-hmm. And
Virgil definitely did that across the
all
the
about
board.
that. I think juxtaposition and the clashing of ideas and things that don't typically fit with one another, and like getting them to work and work together. And apparently he was a really big Patek guy. There was a statement that Nick made in it. He had mentioned, he said, he was talking about how much he loved how he wore his gold Nautilus. Mm-hmm. And he used the expression, he said he treated it like workwear. Yeah. And I love that.
Yeah, it's a tool. It's kind of how we all treat our watches.
Yeah, 100%.
And when it comes to Patek, I feel like, they're definitely on a pedestal because they should be, but if people see them on that pedestal and just tend to leave it there, it's like maybe special occasions, wedding, maybe a fancy date night. But if Virgil's wearing it every single day in the studio doing kickflips on the skateboard with a gold Nautilus.
Exactly, which is like
so
incredibly awesome, right? It's like, and we talk about gold watches all the time and how good they look when you really purpose them and you really wear them. Mm-hmm. And, to state that he wore this like workwear, it's kind of like, to me, it's his whole philosophy, right? Like his relationship with luxury, his relationship with streetwear, and the blurred lines in between all of that. And like, this thing is lifestyle. This is my life, my point of view.
Is what I loved about this article too, as well, is it really depicted his life very well in the aspect of how he viewed watches, and also bringing in his design inspiration and background, and how he was unapologetic about everything that he done. And especially in the parts where, there was the controversy of him kind of recreating and repurposing things that, obviously were already purposed, or recreating the wheel. Yeah. And I think Virgil was a testament to that. Of course the wheel wasn't invented, yesterday, but he decided to put some shiny rims on it and make them spin. So when I think of Virgil and what he's doing, especially in the world of watches and, you know, his collection and how he went ahead and repurposed these pieces, is so dope.
Yeah, and when you think about it too, like we got the photo of his 5726 pulled up, which has
The
been
Moonphase,
it's in black PVD, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, any collector, anyone with money who wants to get their hands on something like this, who's more educated, normally wouldn't go for something like this.
Yeah,
But
not at all.
they probably would if they knew Virgil did it.
Yeah.
If it was like, well, this was designed by Virgil, it's a whole different thing. Now it's a piece of art. You're not really wearing it because it's a Patek per se. You're wearing it because it's something that Virgil created.
100%. And I think you know, in terms of this particular watch, the 5726 Moonphase, Patek Philippe, and going back to Nick's article, he kind of talked about how Virgil would take these things and sort of plant his flag, and it's, you know, not on some like I'm better than Patek Philippe, but like Patek Philippe is incredible, and you know, they built something that's beautiful, and I just want to make it more mine. I want to make it feel like me. I want to make it unique. One of the things I love about this piece, the all black Moonphase, is that, you know, back to his aesthetic, the Patek Philippe is in quotation marks.
Yeah, which is crazy.
You know what I'm saying? Which says everything that you want to say in
Yes.
customizing a Patek Philippe. Like, he changed this entire watch.
Yeah, he did.
Like, the date wheel has changed. The Moonphase has changed. The
date
hands are
indicator,
changed.
too.
I mean, everything.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's a fully rebuilt and customized piece. He did this with Mad Paris,
Yep.
Yeah.
who does really cool customizations. But definitely has me looking at the idea of customizing a watch differently.
Of course. Yeah. You know what's so cool about this too is the simple fact that, you know, to Virgil's credit, he was ahead of his time. Although we were living in his world, in his space, and we seen the things that he was able to create, it still was so far for us to fathom. And I think what he was able to create with, you know, Off-White, Pyrex, and even what he did with Louis Vuitton got it. They say, you know what, we need to grab this guy.
Sure.
And who knows,
Kudos to them.
you know, if, let's say, for example, maybe it could have been Patek Philippe to say, you know what, actually, we should grab this guy to design our watches.
I think at the rate that he was going too, like
What would have been next?
I'm saying,
Yeah, what would have been next?
100%.
Something like
I
that.
can definitely see him like
At
having
least a
moved on
consultant.
to. I mean, he was already actually venturing off into luxury timepieces through his collaborations with
I mean, he did
Jacob and Co.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right. So he had done this this sort of cushion case tourbillon
Covered in
ruby
rubies.
piece.
Yeah.
I mean, 400 rubies.
Yeah.
Baguette rubies in this piece. Part of a larger collaboration
Yeah.
between him and Jacob. You know, so I obviously, like, he's expressing his love and affection for timepieces and design. I mean, there's no telling where he would have gone next. I could very well see him like in the house of Patek Philippe.
And this is definitely something that has the Virgil stamp, and you could tell immediately that it's something that these brands are not gonna continue to hold on to, because before this collaboration came out, there's something that Jacob and Co had already done. They had done this watch, only diamonds, only white metals.
Got it.
Here comes Virgil. Let's make it rose gold with
Rose
rubies
gold.
Yeah.
on a green strap.
Crazy
Of course, like,
rubies.
yes. It's just like, it reminds me of like a red rose.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what it looks like.
It
actually.
looks
That's
it
like
looks
a
like a red
flower
rose.
on your wrist.
It's like a flower on your wrist. And like, you know, this speaks volumes to just the influence of pop culture.
For sure.
You know, the price is going up.
Yeah.
Price is going up. You know, these people of influence are kind of stepping in and sharing their interests, and, you know, guys are letting them through the door. So I think Virgil was kind of
They're letting them
the pioneer to kind of do so, and his influence is definitely gonna definitely bring a lot more to the table when it comes to watches, and I think other aspects of collectible pieces.
Absolutely. They're letting them through the door, and he proved that there's a marketplace for this, right?
Absolutely.
I think, you know, we just pulled up a piece, same Moonphase,
Yeah, he
but
did that
his
one for
custom
Drake,
for
right?
Drake, with all the emeralds in it. And it's like, Drake is an avid watch collector and can get whatever he wants. And, you know, he advertises in some of his songs and his music videos this watch that Virgil designed for him, which shows to me not only the respect that he had for him, but the reverence that he had for him, like as a designer. And I think we only got a glimpse of what Virgil was showcasing in terms of his affection for timepieces, because there's a very there's a Dapper Dan like quality to his approach to timepieces that I think is kind of amazing.
Yeah.
That's a good comparison.
That's
too.
a great comparison.
Oh, absolutely.
Because it's like we were talking about a couple episodes ago how doing this exact thing is like a big no-no for just about everybody.
Yeah.
But I mean, in the 80s and 90s and the early 2000s, buying fake Gucci and Louis Vuitton was a big no-no. Unless you're buying it from Dapper Dan, who's taking real product
100%.
and just mixing it up.
Yeah.
That's what Virgil did. And although aesthetically some of this stuff might not be for us, it might not be for 90% of people out there buying watches, we can't deny that it's done in taste and it's respectable.
And very high
High
taste.
quality.
It's
too.
high quality.
taste.
It's done, respectfully, but it all fits into the context or the lexicon of who he is as an artist. I think a lot of people don't realize this is a guy who got a formal education in design. He had a architecture degree.
Yeah.
None of this stuff is arbitrary.
Yeah.
Virgil was a super intelligent guy. He was a super intentional designer.
Yeah.
And I had the privilege of meeting him way back when, had no idea who he was going to be or his contributions. But when you see what he accomplished in really like a short time span,
Yes.
it's kind of amazing. And I know you got to meet him.
Virgil too, and
met him, and
just like you, it's like even back then, this was at an event at the old Nautilis store, which was actually Tom Sachs's studio. Studio still exists. It's just behind the store now. He was doing a talk when he released his book about the space camp, the whole tea ceremony space camp that he did. And I'm a huge Tom Sachs fan, and the talk was with Virgil. They were talking about fashion and art, and I remember they got into this argument kind of because Virgil was saying how like ties were so intentional to wear. It's like you have to wear a tie if you're wearing a suit.
Yeah.
And even with his Louis Vuitton stuff, it's like he'll still wear a tie and he just outrageous stuff on it.
Sure.
And Tom was saying how he hates wearing ties, but he wears them because they hide ugly buttons on shirts. And he was like, if my shirt didn't have ugly buttons, I wouldn't wear a tie.
Wow.
And then Virgil kind of like started to combat him, and he was like, well, what if your tie's ugly?
I'm saying.
And then that's how the whole thing started.
That's hilarious.
So I met him here, and back then, I think he was just starting to do collaborations with like bigger brands like Nike and stuff like that. And usually when the artist does something like that, or anyone really, kind of fall off the map after that first couple collabs.
He kept going up.
Yeah.
Virgil just kept going.
Yeah.
There was no stopping him.
Yeah.
I think it's cool too how he kind of remained like a man of the people. He never became Mr. Abloh or Mr. whoever.
Yeah, it's just Virgil.
It was always just Virgil. And though I didn't know him on a personal level, it's like 6 degrees of separation are very real with Virgil because everybody knows someone who knew him very well.
Yes.
And all of those people have amazing things to say about him and how empowering he was and his contribution to the arts.
Yeah.
For people of color,
Yes.
And sort of validating that, not only does our perspective resonate, but there is it's a serious contender in the marketplace, right? That it moves currency, it moves stocks, it moves eyes and minds alike, and his memory and his contribution forever etched in stone. I think this guy is absolutely a legend. And man, how great would it have been to see him flourish and continue?
Yeah, in 10 years, who knows?
Yeah.
I'm sad that he's gone, but I am excited about the mark that he left. I think his DNA is imprinted on what we're doing.
Yes.
I don't see how we exist without a Virgil. So very, very thankful. and Virgil was here, and he left his mark. So
Yes.
R.I.P. and the legacy lives on.
Yes, it does.
Moving along, we were talking earlier this week about Watchbox.
Mm-hmm.
And so Watchbox is sort of it's a marketplace for watches. You can buy and sell and trade. But what differs with them is it's not a platform, it seems to me, that you can post what you own and sell to other buyers. They buy your watches and they resell them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They have client advisors.
They have client advisors. Yep.
Which sounds really crazy to say.
Yeah, it is a little.
In this day and age, it's a reality.
It's a little crazy.
Yeah.
They've been around for a couple of years, and they're really moving and shaking. And they got two really big investors involved with them right now.
Believe
two guys
it or not.
who are quite popular and shake up the watch world.
They got Giannis and MJ, but Giannis and MJ were just like the face. Included with this round of funding were Giannis and MJ, obviously, Devin Booker and Chris Paul.
Yes.
Really?
Yes.
Which are, avid collectors.
Shout out to the Phoenix Suns.
And a co-owner of the Bucks, whose name always slips my mind.
I'm not surprised about Chris Paul because I know he's an avid watch collector.
Yeah.
I didn't know Devin Booker was into it.
Well, he's about to.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah, I mean-
D-Book, I think he was doing campaigns with eBay at one point when they were
For
doing
watches?
Really?
eBay watches?
Yeah, eBay
Was
watches.
it him? Are you sure?
I think it was him.
Because I know Trey Young was.
Trey Young, I think D-Book.
Trey
he did a-
Young is actually like a real serious collector.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wasn't sure about Devin Booker. That's cool to know.
But something like, just to go back to, if we were to go back into history, you think about, flashy and like flamboyant athletes such as like Mike Tyson or even, Deion Sanders, even hip hop artists like Tupac. These guys wore like diamond watches, gold watches, so like they've always been in the collecting, aspect of like luxury timepieces. But I think now it's like, well, we've been buying these watches. Now we want in on.
Now we want stake.
Yeah, we want stake. We want stake.
So what does that say for the market? So when I was reading about what was happening, and I've known about Watchbox, I've followed them for some time. I've never purchased anything on there.
Mm-hmm.
Not that I wouldn't, but one of the pieces of information I recently came across was, well, they with this round of funding from investors, they've now got unofficially $1 billion company valuation.
They got the buying power to do infinitely anything.
And apparently they have about $150 million in valued inventory.
Yeah, just sitting there right now, ready to go.
Yeah.
So to me, it looks like here's a company that sees where the watch market is going and is positioning themselves to dictate the value and trends
Yes.
of the industry. They're looking to be the head honcho.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, they have people who work there just to do that.
Yeah,
Just to set valuations on your timepiece.
it's kind of crazy.
I listen. Shout out to Watchbox because they kind of foresee the future. I think when anything turns into assets, it's a race. It's a race to gold. You
Right.
know? It's the gold rush.
My only thing with all this, though, too, is that it's already an issue to get some of these more, coveted watches at retail from an AD because they are being viewed as assets,
Yeah.
and that's part of the problem.
Yes.
So
of course.
A huge part.
Now,
It's a huge
what
problem.
happens when you have a company like Watchbox coming in who has, again, client advisors made to put, secondary valuations on your watch?
It changes the entire conversation.
Yeah.
And what it does is, I'm not really sure how I feel about it. I mean, I'm leaning more towards a place I'm not really a fan of.
Yeah,
But
I feel similarly because it's like ADs already make it hard for clients to get in through the door with like
Yeah.
a Rolex sports
And I'm
model or a
glad you said
Patek sports model or some other stuff. So now it's like, well, this watch is valued at 3x the price officially because
it kind of
Watchbox
almost
said
turns
so.
watches
So now what?
into, it's almost like it's almost like Watchbox is trying to be a blockchain,
Well, this is
and the watches are cryptocurrency.
Well, so it's
It's
funny.
turning the watches from an object into a resource, and that's crazy.
But what the funny thing is funny how we say that because of the simple fact that, there was a point in time when there was a hierarchy in investing in watches.
Sure.
There was some watches that you couldn't get, whether they were, accessible or not. And of course, we won't kind of dive into, the politics of that. But I think, someone was left outside.
Yeah.
And you know what they say, we're not gonna go ahead. We're not gonna play with you guys. If you don't want to play tag with us, we're gonna create our own game.
But where this kind of ruins it for me is it kind of takes the joy out of collecting watches. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Like
you stop going for stuff that you like. Now, granted, you could definitely legitimately like one of these,
Absolutely.
crazy ass coveted
For
watches.
sure.
Yeah.
But let's talk about stuff that's not being viewed as assets anymore.
100%.
Now it's like, oh, should I not like this anymore because I can get 3 times the
and
price
I find
for it later
myself
on?
coming across those conversations
All the
even
time.
more. We talked about earlier. I'm not going to say this person's name, but they're a supporter and watcher of the show, and I'm glad that they are. And we got to talking really quick, and he expressed how some of his friends refer to Tudor watches as Diet Pepsis. Yeah, and I was like,
But then
I like it took me a second to realize. I was like, oh man, that's crazy.
But also too with that, you have to do your homework and understand, because going back to when we spoke about the underappreciation of Tudor just did
Sold the
a
watch for
only
almost
watch.
$1 million.
They sold the watch for nearly $1 million.
and that's where the conversation started.
Of course. And then in that same retrospect, there's no brand out there where you will receive a bigger return on your investment than a Tudor watch. For the price point that it is.
I don't know, I'll make that argument.
It
But
will,
no, my
because
thing is
if
this,
we're being
though.
honest, and
Yes,
I'm with you.
yes.
Though the watches, when you look at the Tudor's lineup right now, a Tudor has a lot of work to do.
Yes.
They're gonna get it.
Mm-hmm.
They're on trend. They're gonna get it right. They're not gonna be producing these watches forever.
Yes.
These are gonna be the way we view Tudor subs.
Yes.
We will one day view the Black Bay 58. If you do not have a Black Bay 58 in your watch collection,
You're lost in the sauce.
you lost.
You lost.
Big
and that's,
time.
And that's the same thing that happened with the 70s Repro. The
100%.
70s Repro, the 70s home plate now is going for $50,000.
Yeah, I told you
that
that.
watch
I
retail
told you
probably
that.
for about $250.
Yeah.
They
that
got
watch.
it, but
So
part of it
wait,
goes
you
on.
Can't, you,
Sorry,
there's
go ahead.
No, I'm sorry. I'm very passionate about
No,
Tudor.
get it, go get it.
So my thing is this. Like I said, there is not another watch brand that we know of that has brought a greater return on the investment than the Tudor watch, and that is sad that it's still called the Diet Pepsi.
I'm saying.
That makes no sense.
Yeah, yo, my bronze Black Bay is selling for plus 100% on the secondary market.
You doubled up.
I mean, I'm not selling it, but
Of course. Of
but
course.
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, but again, I think, and I get that. Like,
Yes.
I understand why guys are calling it the Diet Pepsi.
Sure.
I don't agree with it.
Sure.
But if we're being honest, some of the blame goes on Tudor. How are you marketing your brand? You've got to get from underneath Rolex's thumb. People have got to stop looking at you as Rolex's sub-brand.
Yes.
You are a sister brand.
Yes.
You guys are owned by the same company,
Yes.
right? Rolex does not own Tudor. Hans Willdorf Foundation owns Rolex and Tudor. Let's get that straight.
Sure. But then what happens is, remember, information is exchanged. It starts from the top.
It's just a game of telephone.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
it's the game
It's
of telephone,
telephone.
but it also starts from the top being the people that represent the brand.
100%.
So sure, Tudor has a lot of work to do, but it also starts from underneath them. It starts from the jewelers that go ahead and sell the brand.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So with that being said, if you are passionate about Tudor and Tudor is seeking people that are passionate about the brand, the first thing that comes out their mouth definitely isn't Rolex. It is
Exactly. It's not.
Yeah.
I don't even when I talk about Tudor, I don't
I mean,
mention Rolex.
Of
You don't
course,
have to.
and you shouldn't. You
They're
shouldn't. And you
they're
don't
too
have
good
to.
in their own lane. Why you
No,
mention
they
Rolex
are.
for?
Absolutely.
You don't need to mention a Rolex in
the only
Tudor
thing
conversation.
the only
It
thing I
makes
will
yourself good.
mention, unpopular opinion, probably not. No disrespect to David Beckham and Lady Gaga.
Uh-oh.
Drop them. You're not a fashion watch brand.
Yes.
Drop them.
Well, see,
I'm not buying a Tudor because David Beckham is wearing one, and I'm certainly not buying one because Lady Gaga is wearing one. Remember when she was the head creative director of Kodak? What did Kanye say?
Polaroid, I think it was.
What the hell does she know about cameras? I'm saying it's the same
But
thing.
you know something though? What if you notice? It's funny because I think they are moving in that upward direction because they removed the glamour line from the U.S. market and it's only sold in Europe and Asia.
And keep it there.
But the glamour line is based on little. I was about to say Little Gaga.
I was saying,
Lady Gaga.
And no disrespect to them, but
Yeah, everybody's little.
I personally don't believe that they're fans of Tudor.
I mean, to be fair, I've met David Beckham several times.
Does he actually?
Never seen that man wear a Tudor.
I heard he only wears Rolex.
Never seen him wear a Tudor. Ever. Like, I've been this close to him.
And if you love Tudor, if I'm a brand ambassador of
I'm
Tudor,
rocking it.
I'm super lit.
But what I think it is the simple fact that what people try to do is get away with it. Whether it's the other way, whether it's people crossing over from Tudor to Rolex or Rolex to Tudor. Because let's say, for example, rightfully so, everyone wants to wear the crown.
Sure.
Everyone wants to wear the crown.
Everyone wants a crown.
Yes.
Everyone wants a crown.
Yes.
So with that being said, it's like, okay, I'll invest in a vintage Tudor because it has Rolex parts.
Yeah, I don't even look at it. I don't even think about
no,
that.
no, I'm just saying some people do.
Yeah.
Or in the retrospect,
Do they really?
Yeah.
some people do.
definitely.
Really?
Some people do.
That's crazy.
Definitely.
But I mean, still, rightfully so. If you want to be a part of the club, that is a way to be a part of the club.
No, it's
The
not.
same. But
Well, you want to be part of the Rolex Club as well.
If you wanna be a part
If
of
you want to
Rolex
be a part
Club.
of Rolex Club, you don't buy a Tudor.
You might.
you might.
If it has Rolex parts
If
on
it has Rolex parts
Think
on
about
it.
it like this. What about the Panerais that have Rolex movements in them?
Yeah.
Do you know the cornball at the dinner conversation that's going to say, oh, I have a Rolex and pull out a $200,000 Panerai because it has a Rolex
First of
movement
all,
in it?
I love Panerais.
Sure.
Second of all,
But the joke is corny. But he's going to do it.
definitely not flexing it because he's got Rolex parts.
Somebody
That's
will.
crazy.
Somebody will.
That's wild.
Somebody will. Somebody
Wow.
will. And
Somebody
I think
will.
for, not to speak for David Beckham, but, maybe he's miseducated and saying, well, what's wrong with wearing a Rolex if I'm a Tudor ambassador? Because it's the
Which
same
is, there's
umbrella.
nothing wrong with
Yeah,
that.
nothing
There's
wrong with
nothing
that.
wrong with that.
But I think that's
just
what's
don't
going-
believe
Yeah.
that you actually love Tudor. And when I look at the brand,
And if you're going to sell me a watch,
I
need
think
to
the
know
best
you
thing that
believe
they've
in
done is the Marine National. Those
The FXD?
ads,
Of
The
course.
FXD is
not even
crazy.
just the FXD, but just the advertising campaign that they released for it.
Yes.
Incredible.
Yeah.
Executed beautifully. That's what I want. Give me some realness.
I think, they hit it on the nail with that because there's not a specific person standing behind
Exactly.
it. There's no big advertisement. There's no huge billboard. There's
it's
no
just
glitz
cool.
and glamour.
It's just coolness.
It's just
Yeah.
coolness. Like you got
You want
guys
to
like
watch at the Marine National where it's
100%.
exactly. You have guys purposing this watch.
Yeah. If it's
Yeah.
good
The
enough,
most rugged and
if it's good enough
robustness
for
of
the
it
Marine
all.
National, it's good enough for you.
Yeah, I mean they did it well with the original Pelagos with just the free diving excavations and things like that is crazy.
Yep.
One of the things that stood out about looking into Watchbox, it was a stat that caught my attention. Pre-owned watch sales in 2019 hit $18 billion.
Did you see what it's projected to hit in a couple of years?
I haven't. Do you know?
It's like 20,
35 billion.
That's
35. I was gonna say 26 billion.
insane.
Wow.
35, and I think they said 3 years.
Now it's not all bad, right? Because, with respect to the whole conversation about the demand of Rolex and the inaccessibility to get one, I feel like a lot of authorized dealers are selling other watch brands because of that. And so we're existing right now in a time where watch brands that otherwise wouldn't are getting a lot of exposure.
Yes,
And that's a good thing.
that's a great thing.
But $18 billion in the pre-owned watch market, a large percentage of that is inflated by the demand
Of course, it is by the demand.
and by resellers.
Yep.
Of course,
right? Like it's starting to feel like the watch market is becoming like the sneaker market.
Yes, but that's because everyone is excited, and rightfully so. You know, watches excite us all. We are speaking on an enthusiast standpoint, and to be able to sit down and just talk watches, and for people to actually, you know, enjoy it as well, speaks volumes.
Sure.
So with that being said, as far as, you know, the secondary market and where it stands, that's just the excitement.
But so for me, what troubles me, right? Because I see these numbers and I'm like, that's great.
Yes.
I'm happy that people are enjoying it.
Yes.
But when they balloon that quickly, it kind of feels like it's not all real.
Yes.
And if it's not all real, it isn't going to last.
Yeah,
Of course.
I don't think it is all real, but I think it will last longer than we think it will.
It will last longer than I think it will.
Well, I think it will last
Yeah.
long.
But this is also-
I think
those numbers ain't all real though. Just because I
and
posted
Sure.
but the thing is, like, that's okay. That's why there are guys like us to go ahead and speak to other brands, like you said, and draw the attention and attraction to be like, hey,
Sure.
you don't have to buy gray market, the same as the aftermarket diamonds. You don't have to buy a watch at 5 times the retail.
And I hope people are listening because I will never, ever buy gray market.
Gray
I
mar-
refuse.
Well, that's the thing. If you solely want the watch, sure, do so.
A gray
But-
market
but-
in
and-
terms of
and-
like
and-
inflated prices.
Yeah, but that's what he's saying.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, if you listen, you have guys that have the expendable capital to go ahead and they can spend 2-3 times the retail and keep that market open. Then you have some people that just solely want the watch and they aspire to have it and they may never receive it unless they play the game.
Sure.
So if you are a guy that wants a Submariner and you may never ever see one in your lifetime because you will never get it at retail, then sure, buy the watch. If you're one and done, sure, buy the watch.
You don't
but
need
if
it.
you're collecting watches, then don't worry about that because
Yeah.
that bubble will pop.
Sure.
The inflation will
Oh,
go
but
down.
to be honest, if you're collecting watches from an authorized dealer, you don't even gotta worry about the bubble. The bubble don't exist for you.
Facts.
So
if you're
it's-
doing
it's
it the right
okay.
way and you're doing it via a relationship, you will be taken care of.
You just gotta. It's a two-way
and,
street.
and we were having this conversation today with the gentleman we were hanging out with, and one of the things I said to him was like, and this doesn't apply to everybody, right? But to this particular gentleman who's an entrepreneur and he's doing very well, it's like you've got the disposable income.
Yes.
Like, great. Buy what you like.
Yes.
If you buy what you like, you will have access to everything you want.
Exactly. And it's funny that you bring that story up because the gentleman goes ahead and he's like, well, my boy went ahead and brought a Audemars Piguet for 50 grand.
Yeah, he said that.
His boy
Doesn't
buys
even fit his wrist.
the boy. The
Well,
kid,
that's like
Well,
Drake
hold
with that
on.
RM.
So hold on. So look, this is the crazy part. So the kid goes ahead, he buys the watch for $50,000. He goes ahead, he buys the watch for 50 grand. He goes ahead and he says, man, not only is the bracelet too big, the size of the watch is too big.
It's too big for his wrist.
And then he goes, I don't know if I really
don't want it
like this
anymore. I
watch.
don't want it anymore.
And then the gentleman goes back to him and says, well, why did you buy it?
Yeah.
And the point exactly in what we do here and the message that we try to convey is you have to do your homework, and we hope that guys like us are, inspiring you to do so.
I think we did inspire him
Yes.
personally.
It's
He
an
got
uphill
to hang
battle.
out with some people who actually have an affection for watches.
Yes.
And that's one of the main passions behind this, for me, and I think I can say for all of us.
Like-minded people stick together.
Yeah, well, and then but secondly, it's like this is a real thing for us. You know what I'm saying? Like, we really love watches. We're fans of many things that are, let's be honest, out of our reach.
Yes.
Financially.
Yes, we do.
It doesn't mean we have any less appreciation for them, but not only do we have appreciation for them, but we have appreciation for the pieces that are within reach because
Yes.
it's not about the price.
No.
It's about the watch
And how it makes you feel.
and how it makes you feel.
You know,
Which, go ahead.
I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. You got it.
I think we are very passionate about watches, and you see it in our episodes. And I think you have to talk about the yin and the yang. There is no way that you talk about passion without it being
100%.
some kind of outright something that just goes against passion.
Yeah.
The gray market does that.
It does.
It does that.
Because like I said earlier, it's like, yeah, you can legitimately like some of these hard to get watches, and that's kind of, and the gray market ruins that.
Because it does. It makes you like not want it.
Because if all you like is a steel Daytona, and you're like, yo, I'm successful now, I can finally afford one. I've never worn a watch in my life. I have seen this before. I know I want it. This is all that I want.
You know the crazy
the gray
thing
market
is
makes it impossible
about a lot of the guys that I see, and this is, again, I'm getting a little saucy, but we're going to do this. You know what the crazy thing is?
It's my favorite version of you.
Oh, man.
About a lot of the guys I see with a still Daytona,
You're all terrible.
they wear bad suits. Is that a Kanye bar? But it's
It might
true.
be.
It's
No,
like,
I mean-
it's like you just got this because it is what it is, but you have no taste.
That's
And
the
it's not that the
miseducation.
steel Daytona isn't something to have. I love a Daytona.
I don't.
Especially in steel. I do. I think it's great. But when you approach this thing that we love like that, and it's just like, I have to have it to check a box.
Yeah.
That's all you're doing is you're checking a box. And when I look at you, I can tell who you really are. And I'm like, you know what?
Yeah.
You ain't it.
And on the
You-
flip
you know-
side, AD's
yeah.
got to stop playing games too. If a homie walks in and he's like, this is all I want, it's a steel Daytona.
If your suit is not
you know
tailored,
you ain't going to get it.
do not get a steel Daytona.
As an AD, you got to tell
Your
man,
suit should fit
I
you.
can't help you. If this is
Stop
all you want, I
playing.
can't help you.
Yeah.
Get the
And they don't do
hem.
it.
Well, you know what? So let me play devil's advocate.
Okay.
Because this is what I'm gonna do. What happens to the guy that's a true enthusiast, but only buys gray because he loves watches and has the disposable income to do so?
That's a totally different beast.
But also, he should keep doing it. Why are you talking to somebody in AD for?
But to me,
No,
to me, that's a
a
totally different beast.
I think the people that we do see and the conversations that we do have with certain people, either they don't have access to it and have some kind of gripe, or maybe they spent their last coin on that piece
100%.
and they're salty.
The guy that you're just talking about, you're never gonna see.
You will never see them exactly.
Because he's like, money is no object for me.
yes.
I want it. And
So
that
I'm
goes
gonna
with
get it.
anything.
Yeah.
Yes,
That
of
goes
course.
with anything.
But
It's not
then-
even about the watch. It's about, oh man, I really want that steel Daytona. Let me see if I can find it. No one has it from me? All right, whatever. Buy.
But now
Yeah,
this is
Chrono
now
24,
let me get
$40,000
philosophy.
later.
Let me get
Philosophical?
Philosophical.
Philosophical.
So listen, if you look at the yin and your yang, because I'm getting ready to go, Mr. Miyagi.
Okay, Mr. Miyagi.
I'm going, Mr.
Wax
Miyagi.
on, wax off.
Wax on, wax off. I'm doing it. I'm doing it. Listen, if you look at that symbol, there is a little bit of white in that black.
Yeah, it's a
and
little
there's
bit,
some black in
yeah.
that white.
Uh-huh.
And with that being said,
Wait, you lost me.
He's talking about the good and the evil.
The good and the evil
good.
and the-
Oh, I feel you.
you
I
know
feel
what
you.
I
I
mean?
feel you. I
So
feel
with
you.
that being said, it's
Sure.
like, listen, you do have some good of the worst. You
Sure.
have some good
Yeah, listen,
that invest
sure.
in that.
If I was a 100 millionaire, whatever,
Sure,
and
you
I don't have to walk into an AD.
You will be, first off, you're not walking into a jeweler because you're going to be at Key West eating key lime
And wearing
pie.
his
No, but
fucking
I'm like, it
doxa.
depends. I will. You're right. My
With
flip
your
flops.
solid gold
My
doxa
flip flops, because I'm
and
very comfortable on the
flip-flops.
beach.
So, like, I mean, we're
I am.
all in a different.
But I am also someone who is very relationship based with how I shop.
Absolutely.
So if I have the relationship, I'll utilize it. But I totally understand if you have the disposable income and you don't care because you're living your life, whatever.
Yes.
Go get it.
Yes, go get it.
Not against you.
Yes.
My thing is the guys that feel like they have to check these boxes when they're collecting watches. And it's like, you can tell you don't love what you have. If what you have is about the flex,
Yes.
the flexing, let me tell you, for those guys who are looking for that watch to flex, it fades.
But you know what that's called?
What?
Greed. It's called greed.
Yeah, part of it is greed. Part of it is a bunch of other stuff. But at the end of the day, it's fleeting. And I know what it's like to spend a lot of money on something and to regret it. And it's the worst feeling in the world.
Of course.
And I'm fortunate I've never had that feeling with a watch I own.
Listen, I wore a Rolex Submariner for quite some time. And I thought that it was going to put me in different conversations. I thought that, back when I was dating, I'm no longer dating anymore. But back when I was dating, I thought that, I would meet more girls and,
and they could care less.
But they don't know what a sub is. They're like, what's that? A Submariner? It was a submarine?
Are you trying to date men? Because you wearing that watch.
That was very disrespectful. I said I apologize. Women know, there's a lot of women watch collectors in this industry, and they know what's what. I apologize.
But if you're trying to impress somebody, the watch ain't really gonna do it.
But that's what I'm trying to say, and I'm trying to tap into Perry's point.
But I hear your point. When you do it for the flex, the flex fades.
Yeah,
it's like
it goes to what you said, like the dude wearing the shitty suit who wants a Daytona, right?
That's what I'm saying.
It's like that goes down to taste. The thing with a lot of these people who have a lot of money, we've all worked in luxury environments before. We've met a lot of people who have a lot of money. Most of them don't have taste.
They don't.
That's why they're looking for someone to help them.
Facts.
Which is where people like us come into play.
100%.
If you have taste and you have money, you're going to be buying things that you like outside of the more coveted pieces.
Yep.
And eventually that stuff will come when the time is right.
Mm-hmm.
You're 100% correct. We got to move on. Again, I want to apologize to all the ladies who are watching. That was not a fair statement. Because there are a lot of women who collect watches.
Know several.
We do know several who are very serious about watch collecting and are not impressed by the flex. Shout out to them. Final last segment, watches on your radar. I will kick this off because
you got something crazy?
I don't know if it's crazy, but I realize I'm very passionate about it. And that is the Zodiac Super Seawolf. An underrated hit, in my opinion. They just released several new editions. Mm-hmm. 2 of them have dates, all of which are super luminova. The bracelets are fire. The dial is fire. And I've been seeing it everywhere lately. It's kind of like one of those things. It's like when you finally tap into it, then it just keeps popping up. Mm-hmm. And
that's Instagram listening to you.
That is we're in the Matrix. And they are, and I realize, I'm like, man, you know what? I'm really, really, really in love with this watch. And I know a little bit about Zodiac. What I didn't know, which I probably should have known, was that it was one of 3 of the first commercially offered dive watches ever. Debuted at the World's Fair in 1953 alongside the Blancpain 50 Fathoms. Nice. This was low key the first commercially available dive watch. Swiss made, incredible quality. They make beautiful pieces. And so what I've fallen in love with is the repro of the 1953 version.
Yes.
And I know we talk about watches on our radar often and what may or may not be our next timepiece. I can tell you officially, this is my next timepiece. I can tell you that because me and my wife, shout out to my wife again. She's going to really like that. We don't play guessing games when it comes to Christmas. And so I slid this in her DM and it's on the way.
Nice.
So my next piece is going to be a Zodiac Super Seawolf 53 cream dial.
Nice.
I don't own any cream dials. I'm very excited. It's a 39.5 millimeter case.
What bracelet did you get?
It's on the oyster-like bracelet, which I think is really, really good. But just a beautiful timepiece. I think it's got like a 44 hour power reserve. Now this watch company was purchased by Fossil in maybe the mid 2000s, though they operate independently still.
Yes.
Still Swiss made, but they're also kind of making in-house movements too. Fossil also purchased the STP company, which makes all the movements for these pieces. And they're incredible movements. It's a replica of a Seiko movement. I forget which one.
Japanese design.
We're talk about it. But a brand that I think is incredibly underrated. They have a wealth of history, aesthetically just beautiful, gorgeous dive watch.
Agreed.
I went with the no date version in my request because that's the way it should be.
We agreed on that. We agreed on that.
We did.
We agreed on that.
I'm super excited to get this. I can't wait to get my hands on it this Christmas. Check out
Is she making
Zodiac.
you wait until Christmas?
Of course she is.
You got to rap it like you didn't know.
She doesn't play.
Baby. How'd you know?
So I got to act surprised, but I'm so excited to get my hands on this thing. I can't wait.
Yes. I'm going to say this, Perri. This is a great choice for you because of how passionate you spoke about it.
I've been talking about this watch for weeks.
Yes, you have. we've been talking about Zodiac.
Yes.
And then the simple fact that, this brand has had such a contribution to watchmaking
100%.
and timekeeping. And the simple fact that, people may or may not know about Zodiac, you put them on the map. Do your homework.
And the one that I'm
brands.
getting is pretty conservative. It's a replica of a vintage one they did. But they do a lot of fun pieces. Lately, they've been adding a lot of colors. And I'm going to be honest, when it's all said and done, I will probably own a couple. I'm very passionate about the Seawolf. I think it's an incredible line that they do. Absolutely can't wait. I'm super excited.
That's dope.
Which one do you want to go next? You want to go?
Yeah.
Kick it off.
I want to see yours.
So I went with the Oris Momotaro collaboration.
That's a watch that we both really like.
Yeah, we both love it.
I'm a fan of that and Momotaro jeans.
Yup.
Yes.
Samurai denim.
So that's where I'm going, especially for all three of us coming from a fashion background. This speaks to me.
Sure.
Especially I feel like it's very, very appropriate for our segment that we had today with giving our appreciation to Virgil and
Respect.
just design and his vision and what he sees, and not only what is in front of you. It's something deep and beyond. The simple fact that the strap is made out of denim, and how we know how denim is purposed and how it's repurposed and how it's redesigned and how it's recreated when it is worn and loved and so many different things. Like this piece for me was like, okay, a must have.
I'm not going to lie. I love this piece.
Yeah,
It's awesome.
I'm a
It's
big
so
fan of
awesome.
Oris. I'm a big fan of this piece, obviously, as a fan of denim. I would have never suspected the collaboration when it did happen. It was one of the most pleasant of surprises. But in terms of, I remember Wes talking about like the Big Date Pro Pilot, Big Crown, and how well they do straps.
Yes.
And the fraying of their canvas strap You guys know my love and appreciation for vintage denim. I can only imagine how great this thing is going to look with someone who wears this as like an everyday driver.
Oh heck yeah! This watch is this. So for everyone that don't swim or purpose their
They go to the beach.
leather straps.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I was going to go with.
Hell
Sea
yeah.
salt.
Yeah, this thing's gonna look great.
Yeah, just
Sweat,
wet it a little bit.
playing basketball with
Yup.
it, like doing some kind of crazy extreme sport.
Yeah, man.
Like, I mean, like, man, I'm speechless.
I
for
want to see
real.
what happens to the battle stripes on the strap after 6 months.
It's gonna be
Yeah.
just like the jeans. They're gonna
Yeah,
fade.
they're gonna fade,
And,
right?
And
Almost
take on
look
the
disappear
character,
after a while,
yeah.
How progressive of a brand like Oris to recognize where this industry is going and who they need to speak to.
They're ahead of the curve.
They're super ahead of the curve because a lot of people, I mean, I would never have thought that they would have reached out to Momotaro and said, like, this is something that we need to do. Like, the lowest hanging fruit obviously would have been for most brands like Levi's or something.
Yes, of course.
And Momotaro is like for that denim lover, that guy who's been through all the jeans. Like,
Yeah.
he has all the
You
Levi's.
got Momotaro's next.
He's like, you in denim, you graduate in the same way that you do with watches.
Of course.
They're very, very similar.
Yes.
Momotaro is a heavyweight brand,
Yes.
where they are in denim is almost where Oris is.
Yes.
And to recognize not only the cool factor, but the shared spirit, I think says a lot about where the vision is for the people who are running Oris.
Yeah,
So
for sure.
incredible choice.
Yes. Thank you.
Definitely.
Thank you. I felt like it was very, very appropriate.
Ben.
Yeah, I went with something a little crazy. This might be more of an aspirational piece if we're being honest, but
Okay.
I saw it and completely fell in love with it. So I went with the Resonance Type 1 Slim, the DX2, they're calling it. This is actually unveiled for Dubai Watch Week.
Wow.
So
Yeah, this is hot off the presses.
not only that, but I was also super upset because I've seen every single watch from Dubai Watch Week all over Instagram, all over all the blogs. Didn't see the Resonance anywhere until I went to their website because we got a comment on our YouTube channel.
Oh, we did.
From Roberto.
We did.
Yeah.
Roberto. Shout out to Roberto.
Our first
Shout
comment.
out. No, he wasn't our first.
He wasn't our first.
but he was definitely one of our most
yes.
impactful.
Most
Yes,
impactful.
definitely.
And we heard you loud and clear.
So
sir.
Roberto was like, "Oh, I would love to see some information about Resonance," and I'm like, "I actually know the brand. Let's see what they've been up to. I haven't heard from them in a long time."
Yeah.
Lo and behold, this is the first thing on their website, and it's amazing.
It is a quiet brand.
Yes, they make really crazy stuff though.
What I love about them is their flat design.
Mhm.
And what's awesome and also misleading about them is at face value, and mind you, I've never seen one in person yet. You could mistake their watches for a digital watch.
Yeah, they look digital.
Yeah.
So the way that works is
And
kind of
they're
crazy.
not.
The way that works is nuts. So the Type 3 and the Type 5, the way that they're made is with oil.
It's
So
insane.
there's actually, if you look at the case, they kind of split it in half, where there's half of it is filled with air and the other half is filled with oil. So what that does is it gives this appearance of like no reflection and then like it's flat.
It has a super flat,
Yeah.
almost like Apple-like design.
Yep. And
Yeah.
then
Yeah.
the Type 5 specifically, which is going to sound crazy because if you look at this watch, you're like, how is that possible? It's a dive watch.
Yeah.
The Type 5 is a dive watch and it's filled with oil. And the reason why they do that is because it doesn't allow refraction to happen. Like, you know, when
Crazy.
you fill a cup of water,
Yeah.
you stick something in it, it looks all weird and distorted.
Sure.
The oil doesn't allow that to happen. So when you're diving, like if you take a Rolex sub and you're diving with it, you can only see the time or whatever you're looking at if it's head on. If you're looking at it head on,
Yes.
it's the only way you can read it.
'Cause otherwise, it looks distorted.
with the Resonance Type 5, doesn't matter what angle it's at, you can always see what's on
And
the
that's
dial.
why it kind of has like a digital aspect to it aesthetically,
yeah.
because it's like it's super flat. So if you turn it underwater, it's like it's
see
almost
it
the same.
You'll be
It's
able to read it
crazy.
from any angle.
Super legible.
Yeah. Which is crazy.
I mean, I am not super well versed in the brand, but I've been looking at their pieces over the last year, last 12 to like 18 months, and I love it, man. I think what they're doing is
Yeah, I love this dial.
is
This
super
thing's
cool. I think they're beautiful. They're innovative. They're exciting. They're doing something that's totally fresh and new, and they're quite expensive too. How much they retail for?
20 to start, I would say.
Yeah.
It goes up from there. The Type 5 is probably my favorite one. They're made out of
So
titanium.
this is
They're
it's
around
super
like 32,
niche,
35K.
and it's I would guess it's probably like the watch collector who's been collecting is probably the guy who's after this.
This probably won't be your first watch.
No, definitely
But
not.
If you wanted it to be, you could be.
I mean, if you know better,
The coolest part too is it has no crown.
Yeah, it winds in the
which
back.
is crazy.
It winds in the back.
That's insane.
Now, when you hear that, it's not super innovative because it's like, oh, well, back winds have been around since the 50s or probably even before that.
Of course.
But the way that this works is very interesting because a part of the case back lifts up so that you can turn it. So it's one direction to wind and the other direction sets the time and the day.
It's insane. Wow. Shout out to them. Shout out to Dubai Week. We gotta get. Can we shoot an episode? in
Dubai Watch Week was crazy. You gotta catch a
We
flight.
gotta get out there. We need a sponsor.
Well, I like to travel, so I'm definitely.
I know you.
that.
Yeah, you with the plane. You with the plane action.
I'll need a
As long as
GMT.
we don't fly Spirit, I'm good.
Oh yeah, no seats are terrible, dog. So that just about does it for episode 5.
Yes.
Yeah. Comment, like, share, subscribe, all those good things.
Follow us
I'm
on
also happy
Instagram.
to report that we are on Apple Podcast. We are also on Spotify Podcast if you want to listen. And just today, we've been approved by Spotify for video podcasting. So not only can you see us on YouTube, but you'll be able to see us and catch us visually on Spotify, which is incredible because not a lot of people get that, and we were approved. So we're going to upload all our past episodes and every episode going forward. You'll be able to watch us and listen to us on Spotify. Thank you all for listening and supporting us. We are going to keep this thing going.
Thank you so much.
I think I can speak for all of us when I say we're having a lot of fun.
Yes, we are.
And we've got some surprises coming down, shortly. So we're not going to spoil anything, but stay tuned and keep your eyes and ears on us and ask us questions. You can find us on
please ask us
Instagram.
questions.
You can find us on YouTube. Wrist Check Pod, spelt just like it should be. We're easy to find. All the guys are responsive. Even if you find our personal Instagram accounts and so forth. We want to hear from you. We want to know what you guys are interested in, what you guys and gals are interested in, what you want to know about, what questions you have, and what you want to hear about. So thank you for tuning in, and we look forward to catching up with you next week.
Yes, yes.
Peace.